Thanks to all you soccer guys, and you know who you are, for breaking down the tournament without me. The surgery at Hopkins was pretty involved. I had more than a foot of colon, the top of my rectum, and 19 lymph nodes removed. An ileostomy was placed to allow waste to pass into an external bag attached to my stomach rather than through the normal bowel movement process. The hope was that this would be temporary, to allow my colon to heal and to endure the chemotherapy still to come. About a month of rest and recovery from the surgery, and I was ready to begin chemotherapy. I had a minor surgical procedure to place an IV port in my neck. This little disc was to remain embedded under my skin during the course of chemotherapy, which allowed the infusion center to place the chemo IVs in my neck rather than starting an IV line in my arm. Having a little plastic disc buried under my skin was just weird. I know there's many out here that have it right there. I had 9 rounds of chemotherapy every other week. For me, that meant going to Wilmont on Friday morning, getting hooked up to an infusion machine through the port in my neck. I was there about 4 hours, as I usually had 3 different IV bags to go through. After that was done, they hooked me up to a portable bottle of chemo drug, again into the port in my neck, that I had the pleasure of taking with me for the entire weekend. I stayed connected to that bottle until it was empty on Sunday, at which point a nurse would come to my house and disconnect me. I went through this process every 2 weeks for 9 cycles. I was quite the sight. My ileostomy bag hanging off my stomach and my IV bottle attached to my neck. I spent as little time as possible in front of the mirror. Nonetheless, I refused to let all my baggage slow me down. Yes, I felt terrible with all those chemo drugs, but I found that fresh air was better than staying cooped up at home. I made all my girls' soccer games, and people started asking me, do you have your chemo bottle this weekend? One very strange side effect of my chemo was that it caused extreme sensitivity to cold. Once the temperature dropped below about 50 degrees, my face, my hands, and my feet would all go numb. This proved to be quite a challenge in pursuit of one of my passions of photography at all the soccer games. Heavy gloves and socks did the trick. Sadly, one of the lasting side effects of my chemo is that the tips of my fingers and the bottom of my feet are still numb today. It is unclear yet whether that feeling will ever return. I finished my last round of chemotherapy in December 2011. I pray with all my might that it was my last. For those of you who have endured chemo treatments longer than I did, you have my profound respect, admiration, and compassion. It is difficult to describe how terribly awful it is. In early January 2012, a big milestone and another scare. A CT scan to check things out, remember I was supposed to be done, revealed a new positive lymph node higher up in my GI tract. How could it be? I was devastated. But imagine my relief when a second PET scan revealed that the node was in fact not positive. What a scare. As many of you know, once you are diagnosed with cancer, doctors will never declare you cured of cancer or cancer-free. But I heard the next best words. There is no evidence of the disease. My final hurdle came just a few months ago in late January. With treatments over and no further evidence of the disease, I was cleared for surgery to take down the ileostomy and return me to normal bowel function. I can recall a feeling of absolute elation, waking up from that anesthesia to find the bag no longer attached to my stomach. The subsequent few months were difficult as my body readjusted to its plumbing again, and I got used to what my nurse at Hopkins called my new normal. As I look out to my future, I have annual colonoscopies, CT scans, and other checks. I am sure that each and every one will bring a new anxiety, the fear of something returning. I choose not to dwell, though, on that which I cannot control, so I am back to work full-time, active as I have ever been, and loving life. I am back to regular exercise thanks to my new friends at the Eastside Y and my Live Strong classmates. For those survivors looking for a way to ease back into an exercise regimen, I highly encourage you to look into the Live Strong program at the Y. I am sure one of the Eastside Y folks here tonight would love to tell you about it. As I conclude here tonight, I want to remind you how incredibly important it is to listen to your body. If something doesn't feel right, have it checked out. Don't ignore it. Don't be a tough guy. For those of you in the 50 and older crowd, if you've never had a colonoscopy, don't put it off any longer. Anyone who has had one will tell you that the preparation is worse than the procedure, and I am here to tell you that you'd much rather have a colonoscopy than my last year. To help you all remember to schedule that colonoscopy or other exam or procedure you've been putting off, the Prevent Cancer Foundation provided me with several hundred buddy bracelets for tonight's event. This is the blue bracelet I'm wearing on my wrist. The concept is simple. Wear the buddy bracelet to remind you to get screened for colorectal cancer or any other procedure you've been putting off. Once you're done, pass it along to a family member, friend, or colleague and ask them to do the same, creating a chain reaction that could save thousands of lives. Stop by the Fairport Girls Soccer campsite and help yourself to a buddy bracelet. If you're able, drop $1 or $2 into the donation jar next to the bracelets. All proceeds will go back to the relay tonight. I hope to see a sea of blue bracelets walking the track. So I count myself fortunate to be amongst the rank of survivors, a distinction I now carry with pride. I will always have a willingness to share my story to all who listen and to lend an ear to any survivor who wishes to share their story with me. There are millions of us, and we each have each other and our family and friends for love and support along our journeys. To the Fairport Girls Soccer community, I am humbled by your support and honored by your friendship. You continue to inspire me each and every day, and I am so proud of your accomplishments both on and off the field. In just the past 2 years, this team has raised over $24,000 in the fight against cancer. To my wife Maria and daughters Jessica and Lindsay, I can never adequately describe your unconditional love and compassion during my illness. I know it was not always easy to be around, and I was a less than perfect father and husband. I love you guys. And finally, to my fellow survivors, I challenge each of you to do more than just survive. I challenge you to live. Survival is ultimately out of our control, but how we live our lives is entirely up to us. Live it well.